Hello friends from around the world, greetings from the capital of Zhejiang Province in southeastern China. We are in Hangzhou City, and I haven't been here in a long time, but I'm glad to be back. And we're just out for a walk, and we are headed to the place that you may know of, you may have heard of, especially if you've been to China. The West Lake, or Sihu. Very famous lake, and they always go back to the questionable Marco Polo quote, where he apparently said it was the most beautiful lake on the planet. It's not an exact quote, but that quote, or that sentiment, is attributed to Marco Polo in relation to the West Lake. So, you know, if you got Marco Polo saying it's the most beautiful place on earth, that's a pretty big compliment. Hangzhou is a cool city. I haven't been here in like a decade. And the West Lake is just a great atmosphere. So we're gonna walk around, walk through the city a little bit. Nice weather, nice brisk day. And I'm gonna show you guys around and see what kind of misadventures we can get into today. Now I do want to make sure to try some of the local specialties. And I found a little place. This seems to be just what I was looking for. It's a little restaurant, and on the bottom row there it says 地道的杭州味. And that just means local, authentic Hangzhou flavor or taste. This is exactly what I was looking for. A small shop. Well, as you all can see, the downstairs was pretty crowded. So we're coming up the second floor with the low ceiling. And grabbing this back corner table. Well, what I ended up getting was shrimp fried eel noodles, and this is not something I would typically get, but like I said, I want to try some of the local foods. And one thing about China, sometimes you come to these little restaurants, which I recommend. A lot of times they have the best food, you get the most authentic experience, but like this place is crowded, there aren't many open tables, right? So a guy came over and just sat at my table, which is totally okay. You know, I've got all these extra seats, but you know, for people who are not from China, for a lot of us, this will be quite unusual. So just know that it could happen and that it's quite common in this kind of situation. But yeah, shrimp fried eel noodles. Let's see how this tastes. One of the first things I notice about Hangzhou now that I'm back is that there's definitely more of an element to a traditional Chinese feel, especially in a lot of these side streets, and I think in the city as a whole. I mean, like right here you've got the Hanting Hotel. It's a chain all across China, national chain. And just look at the layout of this one. This is usually, it's just like in a modern building, just a modern structure, but look at this one. Got that traditional feel. So this is very unique amongst Hanting hotels. Now as you get close to West Lake, or Sihu, you've got this big wide open square area. Lots of shopping and lots of just pedestrian traffic. But then as you go forward, you can see straight ahead, that's where the lake is. And we're gonna walk all the way around it. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Hangzhou, some interesting things about this city, a couple little historical nuggets, and show you the scenery and check out, you know, do a little people watching, see some of the locals. We're gonna have a good time. Everybody likes Hangzhou. It's just a great city. Now in the spring and summer, all of this would be green. And you can see it's just trees lining these streets as far back as you can see. But it's not spring, it's not summer, so, you know, it still looks kind of cool. You can just try to imagine how green, how plush and green it would be here in the warmer months. But yeah, this is the first time I've been out here to the West Lake in so long. I mean, we're talking like a decade or so. So, first impressions, guys. First impressions, what do you think? And I can see some type of birds. I don't know if there's, or cormorants or what, but I've got my camera, I can zoom in and we'll see what they are. For a lot of you, you probably don't know that I used to be an avid bird watcher, and I still enjoy it, I just don't do it a whole lot. In most of my videos, you'll hear me say that when you go to a new city, when you're traveling in China, the first thing you want to look for, well, first thing is get checked into your hotel, but when you're going out and you want to do some exploration, it's always good to find a pedestrian street because it's interesting, there's tons of people, and it's a great starting point. Well, here in Hangzhou, you don't need to do that. You just come over here to the West Lake, because this basically substitutes as a pedestrian street, because there's a lot more people here than there would be there, and it's just a great place to walk around. You can see the little cruise boat out there. the dragon, the cruising dragon, and just people out here hanging out, you know. Tons of people, couples, elderly folks, all types, all types. It's just a great atmosphere. If I was a local, I'm sure I would hang out at the West Lake quite a bit too. And my memories before coming here, there's a little drone. My memories before were, I was really new to China at the time. I couldn't really speak any Chinese, and I was on my first long holiday, and I came out here, hello. And I remember I was just out here on my own, and I ended up here in Hangzhou. I had a whole like travel route, and Hangzhou was on the list, and I came here. Hello. 吃了吗? And then, so I came out here, couldn't speak a lick of Chinese, but I was cutting my teeth in the language at the time because I was traveling on my own. I had my little phrase book in my back pocket, and it forced me to learn because I had to rely on myself. Of course, you can always find people in China that can speak English, but sometimes you can't. And knowing Chinese can definitely help you get around in China, understandably so. But I remember I came here and I walked all the way around this whole damn lake. And I just have, my memories of this city are a relaxed atmosphere. A lot of times China can seem kind of loud and chaotic, but here just had kind of a peaceful vibe to it. And even though there's a lot of people, everybody seems pretty chilled out, pretty relaxed. And I just remember feeling peaceful here. And God, it's amazing how long ago it was. But now it's interesting to come back after all these years. And now, you know, I've been all around China. I can speak Chinese fairly well. So it makes things very interesting. And wow, there's some Mandarin ducks out there. That's so cool. I've never actually seen a Mandarin duck just out in the wild. Those are so beautiful. Well, this is an unexpected surprise. I mean, for some of you guys out there who don't really care about birds, this may seem boring, but for me, this is this is gonna be one of the highlights of my day, actually. So cool. Here's a closer look at one of these cruise boats that you can take here on West Lake. I'm not going to. I mean, if I had nothing but time, I would do it, but I'm on limited time, and it's just not a good use of my time. But I'm kind of curious, like, how much it would cost. So I will ask these guys how much it is for a ticket and what they do. It might be a dining boat. Hey, 你好.
你好.
坐这个是多少钱?
90块钱一位.
So let's talk about Hangzhou, the capital of Zhejiang Province. I'll put a map on the screen so you can see where it's located. Southeastern China. As far as the economy goes, it's one of the more developed economies in China, the Jiangsu and Zhejiang region. So a lot of business down here, a lot of wealthy folks. Now, of course, a lot of people are not wealthy too, but just in terms of China, this is a wealthy region. And from what I saw online, it looks like this city has a population of anywhere between 11 and 12 million. So, hello. So it's a big city. Just take a look, just Google your hometown's population and then compare it to this. So let's say 12 million. You might be surprised at what you see unless you're from somewhere like New York or something. And another thing about this area is a lot of the local people, you know, there's a lot of dialects in China. And so the local dialect here in Hangzhou is the Wu dialect, which I cannot understand. I can understand a couple words of it, but it sounds very different from standard Mandarin. It's got a very southern flavor to it, and it's just incomprehensible. Oh, they're just eating some. I wonder what that is. Hey, 你好，好吃吗？好不好吃？苏东坡烧饼。这是什么？苏东坡烧饼。啊。苏东坡是我国的诗人。啊，看着有一点意思。一会儿这多少钱一个？13。哦，行，一会儿我吃一个。好，谢谢。Bye bye. There's a lot of people here, and you know, they're pretty used to seeing foreign travelers. Like a lot of the places I go and spend time in China, they hardly ever see non-Chinese, and very different feeling. But down here, the people definitely seem friendlier and more open to chatting and greeting non-Chinese than they do up in the Northeast. So I would say down here, yeah, pretty friendly vibes. Definitely friendlier than the northeast of China. So even though they speak a local dialect, the Wu dialect, like I said, you'll come across plenty of people who speak English. And if you study Mandarin Chinese, like everybody here, they all study Mandarin. They can all easily understand and speak standard Mandarin Chinese. So you don't need to know the dialect, you know. To learn that would just be if you're living here full time and you just want a fun challenge and kind of surprise the locals, then you could learn it. But otherwise, there's really no reason to learn this dialect. A lot of people are eating this bread. The girl back there said it was 13, which is about $2 for one. Maybe I'll try one later. I'm still too full from those noodles though. This is right in line with my memory. It doesn't seem like it's changed a whole lot. It's just maybe expanded and grown and developed. But in my memory, it's just like this. Shops, cafes, street food, people hanging out, kind of in shady areas around the lake. And I believe it's over a 7-mile trip to circumnavigate. Is that the right word? Circumnavigate the entire lake. So that's going to be at least probably 3 hours for me. I just walked past a group of northeastern Chinese people, which is the area that I'm most familiar with, and I could hear what they were talking about. I wasn't surprised. They were just talking with each other, comparing how they say certain things in their dialect and trying to make everyone around them realize and know that they're from the Northeast. It's kind of cringe, to be honest. You know, it's like this this pride thing, but it's so ridiculous, you know. It seems like rather than just come down here and explore and have fun, they just want to let everyone know where they're from, which personally I find very annoying. Now what you're seeing here, do you know what it is? It's a bunch of dead lotus plants. And one of the local specialties, unsurprisingly, is a type of lotus root dish, which I will be trying on this trip, so you'll see it a bit later. But yeah, that's all. During the spring and summer, this will all be green, and these are really beautiful lotus plants, lily pads and stuff. This is one thing that I remember seeing these older guys with their kites out here. I remember it was here at West Lake, I saw the guy with the smallest kite I'd ever seen. It was this really old guy with a tiny, he had a reel, and his kite was this tiny little butterfly kite. It was kind of sad and kind of pathetic in a way, but also hilarious. He was happy, but yeah, I think that was like the world's smallest kite. Now, this guy is awesome. And you got these folks who are hardcore into photography. I was just talking to one old guy, and he said he was out here photographing birds. So because they can look out into the trees, you know, with cameras like this. That's a powerful one. They're committed. It's not only is that expensive, but you've got to lug around a lot of equipment. For me, I just keep a small camera with a really great zoom, because I'm not worried about, you know, top of the line picture quality. I just do it for a hobby. Actually, guys, I said I was gonna walk around the entire lake, which I've done before, and I'm ready to do it today. I would like to do it, but this is a short trip. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm not gonna walk around. I've decided to change my mind. I'm not gonna walk around the entire lake. I'm gonna use that time to check out some other things so I can make more content for you all. So I'm doing this for you all. If it was just for me, I would love just a leisurely walk around, but there are plenty of places right around here to explore. So we're definitely gonna get a good feel for the lake. We're gonna check it out, spend a little bit of time here, but not gonna go around the entire thing, just because that's, like I said, that's gonna take like 3 hours. So that bread that we saw earlier that the young lady was eating, I'm actually gonna try one. And so this guy's making me a fresh one. It's dough, and then within it is a type of, let me see, what was it? Preserved leaf mustard with pork. So he just rolls out the dough, and then he cooks it in this stove. I'm sure there's a technical name for this, but I don't know. And he just sticks it right on the side there, and it cooks it. And mine actually just came out right here. Hey, and they've got other flavors too. They've got a beef one there, but this one, this preserved leaf mustard with pork, is the local specialty. So I want to try that. Let's try this. I didn't get a ton of the filling in that bite, but having a nice freshly baked bread or cooked bread like this is just so good. So in Chinese, they call the filling that's in this meigan cai. A little bit of a salty taste, kind of strong. That's why they don't put much in it. Turns out perfect. Very tasty. One other quick fact that I forgot to tell you all about Hangzhou is that Hangzhou was actually the capital of China during the Southern Song Dynasty, which was like roughly 900 years ago. So just for a relatively brief period of time, this was the actual capital of China. We're gonna get real local right now. Go over here with the old locals singing the old traditional songs. I don't know if I'll fit in here. I might stand out a little bit, but that's okay. Here's an adventurous cat. The birds aren't a big fan of him though. They were just going crazy. He was just in the other tree and the birds were freaking out over there. Now he's over here. I do have to admit, that's kind of a cool looking boat. We're gonna check out a very interesting place. We're going by subway. A couple of advantages. First, it's more of the local way of traveling, and it saves me a little bit of money. Nice, fresh, clean subway. A ton of e-bikes and scooters, but not a whole lot going on over here. I don't see many people. Well, I'll tell you, they sure didn't make it very easy to get in here. I had to jump over that gate. It's a gate, but it's locked up with a chain. But I see people in here, so I know you're allowed to go in here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start at one end of this area. This is the Paris within China. It's an area called Tianducheng on the outskirts of Hangzhou. We're gonna start at one end, and we're gonna walk up their makeshift version of Champs-Élysées all the way up to the Eiffel Tower. We're starting from the very opposite end of the Eiffel Tower. Got a lot of people coming over here for selfies and photo shoots, probably live streaming. You see, there's the Eiffel Tower. Now what you'll see is there's a green wall going all the way around this place now. Now I know I've lapped it because I remember this. They construction zone, and you can't get in. You got this little tiny gap here. See? Doesn't look like any construction's really going on. Now it looks like these folks got some homemade sausage going on. Some dried duck. Wow. That's pretty interesting. Well, daylight is gone. Nighttime has arrived. But it's time to eat, folks. And one thing that you probably don't know, you know that China has a lot of different foods. They've got the regional cuisines, and you've heard of Sichuan cuisine and all this. Well, there are 8 big ones. 8 big ones. And one of those 8 is Zhe which is Zhejiang Cai, or this province's cuisine. So the cuisine of this area is its own major Chinese cuisine. It's one of the big 8. And I'm going to a place that specializes in local dishes. And this is it, just a little unsuspecting place. I was out on the main road. I was wondering why I couldn't find it, but then I looked down this little alleyway, and sure enough, I mean, this is just a dark little dead alleyway, but sure enough, this is it. And obviously, it's not too busy tonight, but it's okay. I don't mind. Well, it turns out they didn't have a lot of the things I was looking for. They didn't have a lot of the classic Zhejiang dishes, so I'm gonna check out another place that's been recommended and see if they have it. Well, me and my man here are trying to find a restaurant that's sure to have some of these local specialties. It's one of the best well-known local Zhejiang cuisine restaurants in the city. Well, we're looking at maps, like their essentially their version of Google Maps, and we see all these locations. We've been to 2 of them now, and they're both just little shops that like sell ingredients from the restaurant. I guess you could buy the ingredients and cook it at your home. They're not restaurants, in other words. They're associated with the brand, they're owned by it, but they're not restaurants. So after 2 failed attempts, we're just going to the main branch because we know it's actually a restaurant. But I've got this guy driving all over town, and he, you know, for him it's no big deal, he's making money. But yeah, we're definitely going on kind of a run around tonight, but we'll get it this time. So I'm back out here at the West Lake, and this is the main branch of this restaurant that I'm going to, and it's one of the main ones here in Hangzhou that sells true, well, supposedly, I thought the last place did too, but supposedly this place sells true, authentic Zhejiang cuisine. I don't know how well you all can see this, but probably not well at all, but very peaceful and beautiful. But I'll tell you what, if you're not careful, the sidewalk, there's no railing or anything. You could easily just fall right into the lake. During the day, you know, it's not really an issue, but at night, you know, I saw people jogging, and you probably got people cycling through here. I bet people have fallen right into the lake before. Okay, this is it. Finally got here, and you can tell just from the outside that this is kind of a fancy place. Quite a snazzy place here. But I'll tell you what, I didn't eat a whole lot today because I wanted to make sure I was hungry and had a nice big appetite so I could try these different local foods. I must look kind of pathetic coming here alone. This isn't really a place where you eat solo, but oh well. Okay, well, what we have here are some of the most famous and traditional Zhejiang staples, or Zhejiang classic dishes. Now this is the dongpo pork. Okay, so you can see it's got the fatty layer on there, just layered pork. And over here we've got, this is the West Lake fish and vinegar gravy. According to what I've read, usually it's carp. I don't know if this will be, I guess it probably will be, but this is one of the most famous dishes here. And then this is the lotus root covered in sweet sauce. And of course, a bowl of rice. I'm glad I was able to find these because there for a while it wasn't looking too good. And I will say, I am paying a pretty good price for these. Considering that these are local foods, I thought you'd be able to just pop into any little local restaurant and get them, but it's not that easy. I had to come to like, look, I mean, look where I am. I'm not saying you have to do this to get it. I'm sure there are other places, but this is the only place I could find it in my limited time here. Now, I didn't eat a ton here, but I ate enough. And I tried several dishes, and I'm so glad you could get small portions, because in a lot of Chinese restaurants, you can't. I was a little worried about that, but because they had smaller portions, I was able to try different things, and I got to try a variety of local classics. So how much did it set me back? Y'all are probably wondering that. Well, I had 2 beers, I had several different dishes, and I ended up paying just under $20. But in China, you don't have to tip. So all things considered, that's actually not that bad, especially considering this is like one of the nicest restaurants in the city. I like these big multi-way crossings. You can go any way that you want. It's convenient. But yeah, we're out here. It's amazing how long I've been walking today, off of how little sleep I got last night. And I've been on the go all day. But yeah, I wanted to give you guys a view of Hangzhou, kind of city center area in the later evening. It's a little cool out, but if you dress, just put on a couple layers, you'll be fine. But yeah, there's still a lot going on. Got a little covered snack stall area. Just show you guys kind of what they've got. Roasted chestnuts, seasoned tofu. Hello. Oh, 那么大的一块啊。 Oh, yeah. A lot of different snacks. These little tiny baby baozi. 现在不来啊，我就看一下。And this, everybody's favorite, stinky tofu, chou tofu. It's quite colorful though, I will say. One of those cool just walking down the street in China moments. You're just walking along and you see something like this. One of these big gates, sort of punk rock. She's got some interesting garbs on her. Good morning from day 2 in Hangzhou. Yesterday was a really fun day. We did a lot of stuff, all packed into one day. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how I did it off such little sleep, looking back, but I did it. And today we have another action-packed day for you guys, and we will be leaving Hangzhou to go to a different city, which is something I think you guys will find very interesting. But before we do that, we've got to get to the train station. We've got to get some breakfast. And I'm kind of curious to see how their baozi, which are stuffed steamed buns, which is a breakfast staple all across China and even other parts of Asia. I'm kind of curious how the baozi here in Hangzhou differ from the ones up in the northeast where I spend most of my time. So if I can find a breakfast joint that looks somewhat promising, we might have to pop in and try some of those baozi. Actually, here's a little place that sells xiaolongbao. They're these little, like, thin-skinned breakfast dumplings. And I know in the Northeast, I generally cannot find good ones of those. So I'm gonna try those here because down here in the South, they're much better than in the North. And I've been craving those for a while. So I got my breakfast served here. I've got the xiaolongbao. I've got a bowl of porridge and a tea egg. This is a pretty common Chinese breakfast. But up in the North, it's hard to find these that are actually good. So I'm very happy to see these. And the way you can see they make it is she's got these little skins over here, and she gets the meat filling, wraps it up and puts it in a little one of these containers, and then they steam it and it comes out fresh and delicious. I like the fact that you can watch them make it here because, you know, it gives you confidence that it's fresh and clean. So I want to tell you guys about this. So these, you can put a little vinegar here, just dip it in vinegar. Tea egg, it's a hard-boiled egg that's cooked in a very slow. Oh, hey, 谢谢. That lady was so nice. She saw me making this video. She wanted these little xiaolongbao to look more fresh. So she gave me a fresh steaming one. But these are hard-boiled eggs that are cooked in a slow, painstaking way, and they're boiled again and again, and they try to absorb some of that tea flavor. It's kind of a salty taste. I love them. I mean, these are just little pickled vegetables and a bowl of congee, or just like rice porridge. Pretty bland, but I won't be able to finish all this. But I just wanted to kind of show you guys what a standard Chinese breakfast looks like, and I'll let you guess what you think this might have cost. Okay, you probably guessed somewhat close if you guessed about $2.50 US. Well, these are really nice and they're kind of unique. When you eat them, you gotta sort of be careful because there's some soup in there usually. So what I do is I bite a little bit off the edge, leave an opening, then I can kind of drink the soup out of it. Otherwise, sometimes it'll pour out on you and maybe, you know, burn your face or get your shirt dirty. And then you can dip it in the vinegar, which is really nice. And it's just delicious. These are really good, by the way. See the meat filling in there. If you look, you'll see a lady in a beige coat, sort of short and stocky. Well, I finished my breakfast and I walked out, and I don't have a mask on, but you know, a lot of people don't. And she looked at me. You can see now she didn't have a mask on either, but when she looked at me, she put her mask on her face and she looked at me like I was sick or something. And now she's coming back. So she saw me and she acted scared, and she 突然就戴口罩，因为她看到了外国人。So 偶尔会遇到这种情况。I'm not a big Starbucks guy. I usually try to get another brand of coffee if I can, even if it's like KFC or something. But I was in a bind and I needed some coffee pronto, and Starbucks was right there, so we grabbed one. I'll tell you, that lady that did the whole mask thing, you know, she was walking around casually, didn't have a care in the world, walking past dozens and hundreds of people. some of whom had a mask, some didn't. And then she saw me and she made a disgusted face and acted like I was some kind of disease. So she put on her mask. And you see, I don't say anything, but now she gets a cameo in this video. And that kind of stuff has happened so much here. And it still happens. Not nearly, it used to happen constantly. But now, you know, pandemic is pretty much over. It's not really that much of a thing, but that kind of thing still happens. And as you just saw, it just happened. And I spoke the last part in Chinese so she could understand what I was saying, because I want her to realize what she did. She may not have known that she just unintentionally really disrespected me. She looked kind of startled. That wasn't the goal. The goal was just to share the experience, because that is a thing that happens here. And then I didn't expect her to come back. She ended up going to the same breakfast shop I went to, and that just sort of worked out, lucky for the video. But I wanted, while I was doing it, I was like, well, let me just say this last bit in Chinese so she can at least know what she did. You know, maybe she'll learn something from it and be more self-aware in the future. Now, you're probably wondering, why in the hell am I showing you an umbrella shop? But there's more to this than meets the eye. You know, if you've been following my channel, you've seen before, I've shown you women in the summer using parasols or summer umbrellas to protect them from the sun. And that's because they want to keep their skin light colored. They don't want to get tan. They don't want to have dark skin. I've rarely seen a whole shop devoted to it, but here at Paradise Umbrella, they will cover all of your parasol needs. Well, I'm coming here to the subway, and I gotta say, this warm reminder really makes me feel better.